What's up, guys? Chris with Shop Built. We are going over the wiring so that we can wire in the immobilizer. So in order for the ECM to tell anything to be able to fire or tell the injectors to run or even try to start the car, you have to wire in the immobilizer to the actual original harness. There's a bunch of stuff online about this. Talks about mainly it's automatic cars. The vehicle I have was a manual, so things were a little bit different. I did some digging, I got online, I was able to find wiring diagrams, and that kind of helped me out a little bit. It didn't seem to be exact. And then my vehicle was an 04, so I think it's 2002 to like 2005, they kind of changed the wiring. I had a donor car. I accidentally threw away like half this harness whenever I got rid of the car because this was on the chassis side of the engine bay. So I had to get on eBay and I had to order one. It was like 90 bucks. And these are the last two plugs, which I'll show you. These are the last two plugs on your ECM. So all of these are going to be for your commands to your injectors and your sensors and things like that. These last two connectors on your ECM are where the power inputs come from your chassis. So it's going to be your immobilizer, your grounds. It does read speed and gives reference and signal back to your gauge cluster. It also does your O2 sensors, and it reads some of the stuff in there. I did a bunch of digging, and if anybody's ever interested in it, I can give you a copy of it. I'll see if I can find the link again and kind of post it on here. I actually went through, and it gives me a pinout on every single plug. And then I just went through the pinout and read each line to figure out where I was going, what I needed, and what I had to have. Off the back of the immobilizer, I cheated. I took the immobilizer ring off my ignition switch because I didn't feel like having this big clunky piece of metal that was in there. And so what I did is I just took the ring off, plugged it into the actual control module, which helps read it and amplify the signal. And then I zip tied the key to the actual immobilizer so that it can still read it. And then this is the actual plug that actually goes into the backside of the immobilizer. Now on this, the only three wires that you need to be concerned with attaching to the harness is green. And green is actually going to tie into what they call connector A or E3. And I'll give you an exact reference of what that is. I think that's code is what that works out to be. Yes, so A31 on connector E3 is code. And then our next two are gonna be B24 and B23. And those are your reference signals. So I got E3 here, and we're gonna hook green to green, and that's gonna be for our coding. And then I got connector E4 here, and I've already pulled the wires out, and that's gonna be pink with black and then a violet color, and that's gonna be the rest of our signal. Now the other two wires that are left on here is black with red, that's gonna be your power, and white with black, that's gonna be your ground. And then as you go through this harness, you're also gonna have a gray connector. This gray connector is what fires your injectors and things like that. So you're gonna have a black with red again, which is kind of a common theme. That's gonna be your power. And then you're gonna have black with white. Both of those are gonna be power. That's gonna be for your mass airflow sensor and for your injectors. Now, I've kind of left this harness together. As time goes on, I will probably splice it down and get rid of a lot of it. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I don't need any power or grounds from anything else. I left the factory tie-ins and everything so that when I do put power to it, it's at least supplying power because I'm hooking all the connectors back up and it's going back through the engine harness. I'm gonna kind of troubleshoot this and go through this a little bit more. And as I figure out more on it and kind of test everything, which you guys will see later today, I'll put everything together and give you a final start. In order for us to start the car, I gotta get fuel to it. I do have a new fuel pressure regulator on the Camaro. You got about 60 PSI that's coming from your pump. Toyota, the 2JZ, GE motors want to see between 36 and like 40 PSI. And they don't have a return system on them either. So I bought a regulator that will be able to turn my fuel pressure down, and then it's also got a return line on the bottom side of the regulator because the factory Camaro's got a feed and a return. So when we want to be able to utilize both those ports and just try to make it as simple as possible. So I did buy a regulator. That's something that we're gonna do once we kind of figure out the wiring and we can actually get the car to physically turn it over off of its own power. Another side note, this gray connector, which is normally, you'll have a black with yellow. Black with yellow, big, thick black with yellow is gonna be your starter wire. So this is what we're gonna wanna apply to our ignition. So whenever we hit our key and turn it over and apply power to it, this is what's gonna send power to the starter and tell it to start. So I'm gonna kind of dig through this some more. I'm gonna create another video as we go on. Try to keep you guys updated on what we're doing. Again, I'm very, very new to this. So I'm trying to get in the habit of it and try to figure out video editing and things like that. If there's stuff you guys know about this or you've done or have experience with, more than welcome to comment. I would love the information. Again, mine is an actual manual car is what it came from. On these, usually if they're an automatic, they have an extra connector that sits over here, and that's where the immobilizer normally goes. When you have a manual car, it's all ran through here. So things are a little bit different. And I had to scour the internet to be able to find that, which was a lot of fun. And I would share anything that I have to help you guys out that are trying to do this as well. Well, once I get caught up with this and we see where it's going, we'll get another video out and keep you guys updated. Appreciate it.